Hi there. Today I'm going to take you through the administrative areas of the Callation portal. For the most part, the interface for an administrator will look relatively similar to that of a general reporting user. They will also have access to all the same login methods, features, and options available to standard users. The primary differences for an administrator are the configuration and collectors options in the left-hand menu, plus one extra item in the user account menu at the top right, which is corporate settings. We will be starting with the corporate settings option. In this area, an administrator can enable or disable any of the login methods available tenancy-wide on the platform. Currently, these options are Microsoft Single Sign-On, Google Single Sign-On, and Standard Login. Any combination of these options can be enabled or disabled, as long as at least one of the options is made available. Checking the email notification box at the bottom will send any affected users an email notification if any previously available login options are disabled. For example, if you wanted to force users to use one of the single sign-on options, you may want to disable standard login, but you may also want to send a notification to users, so they are aware that they can no longer use the standard username and password method to log in. Your reseller or partner also has the ability to administratively disable these items. Any options disabled at the partner level would need to be enabled again by that partner, or by contacting our support team to have these overrides removed. Clicking Save will apply any changes made in this window. Over in the left menu, we will move to the Collectors area. This isn't a section you will need to regularly access, if at all, but will be covered for completeness. Within this area, you can see the details of any collection agent used to gather call data from your telecommunications platform. Not all platform types need a collection agent, but those that do will show any configured collectors here. Collectors will be displayed, showing the MAC address of the device it is installed on, the local IP address of that device, and the external-facing IP address used to reach our platform. There is also a last seen column that shows when it last connected to our platform. Normally this will happen once every few minutes, depending on the collector's configuration. There are no configurable or changeable items in this area. Under the sub-menu button, there is an option to download the collector's configuration. At the top right, there is also a button to download the collector software. For most people, neither of these options will ever be required, as installation and configuration of the collector is usually handled by your partner or our support team. I will now move over to the configuration area. This area has multiple different sections across the top. There is also a scrolling arrow if all these options don't fit across your monitor. Most sections follow a similar layout, with a search filter above, Add button, and a CSV download on the right to export a list of items for offline review. Within extensions, you will see the configured endpoints and their associated numbers. One extension can have multiple numbers assigned to it. For example, you might have a user with a desk phone and also a soft phone, and want to have calls for both devices consolidated against that one record in the reports. In the Actions sub-menu, there is an Edit and Delete option. The Edit window looks identical to the Add window if you click the Add button. The top section of the window includes fields for a name, a location, a department, and a cost code. All fields here are optional, but it is strongly recommended to enter a name as a minimum. In the lower half of the window, we have each associated device that is assigned to that entry. Each device has a description, number, and a type field. The type field is not currently used in any reporting, but is more used for administrative identification purposes. There is a primary toggle that must be enabled against one of the configured numbers. This is the number that will show in brackets beside the user's name in any of the reports. Additional numbers can be added by clicking the Add button, or removed by clicking Delete in the Actions sub-menu. All numbers must be unique in assignment, meaning the same number cannot be allocated to multiple users. Right at the top of this window, there is a Lock button. This will prevent the extension being modified by any system import, or manual action, without first unlocking the record, with the same button. Depending on your telecommunications platform, there are generally options available to automatically synchronize extensions and groups into our platform. Or in some cases, allow for manual data export and imports to be run by your partner. If you wanted the name of an extension or group to display differently in the report to what is in the phone system, you could update it in this interface, then lock the record to stop the name being reverted in the next sync. Similarly, there might also be reasons to change the device type here, such as changing an extension to a group number, where a lock would also prevent this being reverted by a sync. The Group Numbers section has a pretty similar layout to extensions. The main differences being the addition of a host system column and a one-to-one mapping of group numbers to names. If I add or edit an entry, I have 4 configurable fields, as well as the same lock button, seen on the extensions page, at the top of the window. The type field is a bit more important here than it is in extensions, as it is used for interpretation of call routing. For example, advertised number and ACDQ types look at different attributes within the call than other types of group numbers. Moving on to reporting filters. In this section, we can create or modify logical groupings of extensions and group numbers. We can also create filters for trunks and voicemail, but these are mostly used in scenarios where there are multiple carriers, or your system is tenanted and shared by multiple organizations. Any filters created here are available for selection in any of the associated reports. In this example, we have an extension filter for the account staff, which when selected in an extension report, will only show associated data for Kara, Daisy, Fred and Sam. There is no limit to the number of different filters you can have on the system. At the top of this page, we can select which filter types we would like to see. If I select extensions, I will only see extension filters in the bottom half of the screen. Search, add, and download CSV options are also available. Adding or editing a filter will display like this. At the top I have the filter name. This is what will be displayed in the drop-down selection on reports. Below this, we have a list of all available entities on the left side, and on the right, a list of all the entities that have been selected for the filter. Either column can be searched, either by number or by name. To add an entry to a filter, click the plus icon beside that entry, and you will see it move to the right column. To remove an entry, click the minus icon beside it, in the right column. Any changes made to filters are automatically applied to any dashboards, scheduled reports, or alerts that are configured to use the modified filter. The only difference between adding and editing is that in adding, we must select the filter type at the top to display the appropriate entity types below. Within the Security Roles section, we can use reporting filters to create a role that can then be applied to users to limit which extensions, groups, and trunks their account has visibility on. In the example below, we can see the accounts role that has been created ahead of time. Any user with this role will only be able to see calls and metrics associated with extensions in the Account Staff filter or group numbers in the Accounts Groups filter. The layout of adding and editing is the same. If I click Add, at the top, I have a field to name the role. Beside this, I have a checkbox for Default Allow. This is on by default, and means that if any category has no filter applied, the role will allow access to all entities in that category. Clicking the drop-down in any section will show all available filters of that type, and as with other drop-downs, you can type in this field to filter the list. When clicked, any entry will be added below, and can be removed by clicking the minus icon. If I edit the existing accounts filter, you will see that Default Allow is set to On, and there is no filter selected in the Trunks section. With Default Allow set to On, this role will allow visibility of calls that came in on any trunk, meaning any incoming phone line. If I was to turn off default allow, this would mean that no trunks would be visible on this role, which would restrict visibility to internal calls only, for any of the extensions or groups assigned. Security roles are applied to users in the next section, which is the users area. Following a common layout to the other configuration areas, you are able to add, edit, and delete platform logins here. Clicking the Add button will show the window you see on screen now. Here, we need to fill in the name, email, permission level, and time zone. The password field is optional, and if left blank, this will be randomly generated. All fields can be changed in edit mode, except for the email field. Emails must also be unique, as this is the username for that account. Single sign-on users still need to have an account created in this area, in order to be able to log into the platform. Available permission levels are full admin, limited admin, full reporter, limited reporter, and restricted reporter. Selecting each option will show check marks against the areas of the system this account would have access to. In the case of limited admin, limited reporter, and restricted reporter, there is also some granularity in controlling which areas they can access. This is done by selecting or deselecting the editable checkboxes. The restricted reporter role would also have a security role applied at the bottom, which is how accounts are tied back to the security roles seen in the previous section, to restrict reporting visibility on that account. On saving a new account, a system welcome email will be sent to that user, which will include the link to the portal and their associated login details. The next two tabs at the top are voicemail and trunks. The configuration in these sections will rarely be altered, except in instances where you might change telephony carriers, or expand the number of voicemail ports or lines on your system. For the most part, you should be able to ignore these areas, as changes here will normally be made by your partner or our support team. However, the layout and operation is almost identical to the group numbers section. Call costing is used in accounting reports and how we attribute a cost to each call. To do this, we use a dial pattern and length parameter. In the example highlighted, any outbound call, starting with 04, and exactly 10 digits long, will have a 22-cent flag fall applied, then 13 cents per 60-second block, for the duration of the call. Clicking the Add button will show the available options for a costing rate. Dial pattern is looked for at the beginning of the dialed number. This could be a number, but you can also use an X as a wildcard to match any digit, or an N to match only digits 1 to 9. Length comparator is used with the number length field to examine the overall length of the number. Options are undefined, which will ignore the number length, as well as matching to numbers that are equal to, greater than, or less than the number length field. Flag fall is a charge applied as soon as the outgoing call is answered. This is expressed in a decimal format. Timed cost is the charge per time block, as entered in the timed cost seconds field. For example, a charge of 10 cents per 30 seconds would be expressed as 0.1 in the timed cost field, and 30 in the timed cost seconds field. Minimum call cost is an optional field. If left blank, it is ignored, but if there is a value here, any call cost under the minimum cost value would be rounded up to this value. Similarly, the capped cost field operates in the same way, but as a maximum, where any call cost over the capped amount would be rounded down to this value. As with the minimum cost field, if left blank, it is ignored. Apply to system can be used if you have multiple systems, and their associated lines have different carrier costs applied. The default value is all systems, otherwise you can select the specific system to apply the rule to. Apply to trunks identifies which type of trunks to apply the rule to. This is matched against the type field, as assigned in the trunks configuration area. The default is all trunks, which is suitable for most cases, but can be altered if needed. The last item in this window is the call classification field. This is used to assign a descriptive classification to matching calls. These classifications are also used for providing a subtotal for each of the classification types. When running accounting reports, if there is no matching costing rate for a particular call, those calls will be marked as unclassified, along with a cost rate of 0. Moving to the last section in the configuration area, we have the Systems tab. This is a read-only section, and includes configuration information on any telephony systems that are configured against your tenancy. For many systems, the API key and time zone are used by collector agents to upload call data to our platform. Otherwise, this tab is informational only. Hopefully that gives you a good insight into the admin interface. Thanks for your time, and please feel free to check out our other training videos.